Hi everybody, I'm Stefan for tuts, and in today's tutorial we are going to continue compositing our Canon EFS 55 to 250mm lens commercial in After Effects. We're going to finish the scene where we left off in our previous tutorial and hopefully finish the rest of the scenes. So let's not waste time because we have a lot of work to do. First of all, we are going to take the front glass solid and we are going to apply a circular mask to this layer, and we are going to scale down the mask, holding down Ctrl Shift Alt to scale it proportionally. And let's rename this to first line and click OK. Now we need to go to Effect, Generate, and apply Stroke. And for the first one, we need to set the brush size to 0.9, and on transparent, the paint style should be on transparent, so we see only the stroke. And we need to set the brush hardness to 0. And we need to set the spacing to 0 as well, so we can see our line. We need to set this on top of the lens here, and we need to go to the first frame of our animation, and we need to click the collapse transformation switch to as you can see how it looks like a pixelated line, and if we click it, it gets perfect again. So we need to do that and probably just scale down the mask just a bit more until it almost until it touches the lens here. And we are going to animate the end, so set the start to 100% and set the end to C. We are going to animate the end to be, if we set both to 100%, we are going to set the end to 100 and go to the beginning, set a keyframe and move 30 frames forward and set this to 0. And we are going to hit U to review the keyframes and select both of the keyframes and make them easy ease. So we are ready with the first line, and we need to create the second one, which we are going to duplicate the layer and to rename it second line, and just hold down Alt and hit page down 3 times to offset the layer with 3 frames. And we are going to select the mask and just expand the mask a bit, and we are going to create a new object. So go to layer, new object, and we are going to link the second line to the new object, because we have position animated and we can't move the position, but we can link the layer to new object and hit P for the position of the new object, make the new object 3D as well. And let's offset these 5 frames just like that, and let's select the second line and set the brush size to 1.5 for this one, which is totally fine. And we keep the same animation, and probably we need to reduce the opacity, but that's up to you. I personally prefer to reduce the opacity a bit to like 70%, so it's not a 100% white core. And this is our animation here at the beginning. Maybe we can select this and just rotate this 45 degrees in this space and this something like that, just to give it some random feel here. It's up to you again. And now for the part where we have some title, we are going to select this, hit U, and reset all of the keyframes here and set this to 0. And basically what we need to do is to rotate this negative 90 degrees, and here we are going to put our titles and stuff like that. So first what we need to do is this arrow here with this element, and how we are going to do this is with using shape layer. So at the frame where is at this frame, we are going to create two marks here. Let's see, one here and one guide layer here, and I'm going to just make sure that nothing is selected and change the color to white for the stroke. Set this to 2 pixels and click here and hold down shift and click here and just drag the point, and that's it. That's our animation so far. And let's see, our animation starts at, let's say, frame 30. So if our animation starts at frame 30, we need to select our shape layer and let's apply a trim paths modifier. Now we need to open the trim paths and see, we want to trim this 100% like that. Set a keyframe, move 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 frames, 65 frames forward, and set this to 0. And let's just make a short preview. I'm going to pause the video so you don't need to wait for the render, and let's see the preview. So here is the preview, as you can see. And we need to fix a few things. First of all, we need to select the path here, select the first point and move it a bit, and select the last point and move it a bit more. And let's take a look at the original video. And that's it. It's pretty simple. I'm not going to waste more time here. I'm just going to take this and just take the shape layer, and using the polygon tool I'm going to make this with fill core with no stroke, and just drag and create a triangle here, just like that. And we are going to set the fill to be enabled and change the color to white, and let's turn off the stroke. And for the polystar we need to take the anchor point. You can see the anchor point, it's in the middle of polystar, and we can just scale this. So go to the first frame, set a keyframe for the scale, move 10 frames forward, and let's set this to 100. And what we see is that the trim paths modifier affects the polystar, and we need to put it here inside the shape so it does not affect the modifier. And we need to duplicate this, hit U to review the keyframes. So we see the keyframes for both triangles. We need to select the second polystar and rotate it 90 degrees, and we need to move it actually a bit more than 90, 135, 180, excuse me. And in the beginning, let's see, maybe we need to offset the scale to start a bit later at this point maybe, and we need to just animate the second one. So take the position, move it here, set a keyframe for the position, move 10 frames forwards, and let's move it here, move 10 frames forward, and you can reduce the size for the triangles. And I'm going to go to the end frame and just move this like so, and basically that's it. All we need to make this 3D layer, so we can click the 3D switch, hit P for the position, and for the title we are going to take this position and just copy the position and paste it. And as you can see, we need to rotate this like 90 degrees and hit P for the position and just align it with our lens. As you can see, it's pretty big right now. We can overall scale the layer, hit S for scale, and just align it. Let's take the anchor point and put it here in the middle, and hit S for scale and just size it down and position it. And basically this is how our animation looks like. It's not the same like in my original video, but that's the way I created it. Obviously you need to put a bit more time when creating something like that. And the next thing that we're going to create is a new composition that is going to be, let's see, like 8 seconds. And let's create, let's name it numbers. Oops, we rename this. Let's create a new one and let's name it numbers and click OK. And let's control click here so we see the frames. We want a 250 frames, and I bet that you maybe guess what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a new solid, and I'm going to go to text and apply timecode and frame number. I'm going to change this to frame number, put it in the middle here, increase the size, and from 0 to 250, and I'm going to crop my composition. And basically what I'm going to do is to, as you can see, we can't mask out this that way, so I'm going to create a new layer and just slide it over and use it as a alpha inverted matte, so I see only the numbers here, and move it, actually leave it here in the center, and just create a new white solid, because as you can see we have some lines here, and if we put it below, we can change the mask to rectangle mask. put it on top as well, and apply transition, and use this type of transition, and let's set this to 45, set the width to 5, reduce the opacity to 50 or 25%, and as you can see, this is what we need to do. And take this one and just make a copy and apply generate stroke on transparent, and remove this. Basically we want only the stroke here. Set the opacity to 100, set the stroke size to 1, maybe set this to 50 or 35, and we need to make the box a bit bigger, so let's just drag our mask here as well as this one, and just using the type 2, type mm, and probably use the semi-bold or something like that from the typograph font. Oops, and let's set this to 25 and position it here, and take the numbers composition and put it into our main composition here, and we are going to time remap it. We are going to set this to screen to get rid of the black color, and we are going to time remap this. So we want to start from 55, set a keyframe for time remapping and delete the first frame, and we want this to wash to 250. So when the animation starts is right at this point. We want this to be static, like 10 frames, and then start moving. So from this point we are going to have our animation animate actually a bit more. From this point to, let's see, to this point here, 95 frames. So we need to create a marker here using the star key on the numpad, and take the last frame, put it here, and let's see, let's undo that, and because what we need to do, oops, let's undo moving the frames, and at this point here we need to set a mark and set a keyframe here, delete the last frame, take this frame and move it here, because otherwise our layer disappears. And as you can see, we have from 55 to 250 millimeters movement, and we need to take our start frame and move it here as well. So from 55 to 250. Now we need to take this and make it 3D, and let's take the title position, hit P, just copy the position and select the numbers and paste it, and let's rotate this to -90 and just hit P for the position, move it like that and move it backwards quite a bit, like negative 400 or negative 600, until you are satisfied with the size. Actually negative 800 or something like that. You need to experiment, and you can link this to the first line, so it's going to move with your line, or you can hand animate this. For example, let's see the first line. It starts here, and let's move it at this point, and let's see how it animates. And that's because it's further in 3D space, that's why it doesn't animate as we expect. So let's set this to none and go to the first frame, and let's select the layer, move it here, set a keyframe for the position, and move here to the last frame, and let's move it upwards like that. And that's our animation. And at this point we can fade in this, set this to 0, move 10 frames forward, set this to 100% just to fade in. You can use any other type of transition you like. Let's extend this to the length of our composition, and the rest is just a straight line with some title here. And let's create this one as well real quick, which says brand new zoom lens, and change this to ultra wide, set this to 30, and let's see, we can set this to both to see it better. And basically what we need to do is to animate our type, animate the opacity, set the opacity to 0, and animate it from frame 60. Let's go to the range selector, and we are going to animate the start, set a keyframe, move like 30 frames forward, set this to 100, and we are going to take the pen tool and create a straight line, set the stroke to 2, and we are going to animate it using the trim paths once again. Set this like so, hit U to review the keyframes for the text, and we are going to set a keyframe for the start, hit K key. Using the K key you can move to our next keyframe, animate this like that, just make a copy, hit U, and uncheck this, increase the thickness of our stroke and move it upwards, and increase it even more, set this to 40, and set the opacity of this to 25%. Select the layer and let's apply again the Venetian blinds transition, and let's set the completion to 50% and the width to 10, and set the, let's see, like 4 maybe, and you just need to play with the settings, and we are going to animate this from this frame to like 20 frames forward. We are going to animate this in, and this is going to be our title. So let's pre-compose this and let's call it title. let's take the title solid helper. Let's make the title 3D. Let's copy the position of this one and paste it here. Let's hide the title and let's move it like that to negative 90 degrees. Hit P for the position and let's see, move it backwards quite a lot, like negative 600, so you can see better. And that's it. As you can see, we have our title here, and you can select everything and put it below the particles, color corrections and glows to get one consistent look for all the graphics. And that's it for this scene. Let's hit S to save it. It took us quite a lot of time, so I guess that we are going to complete only 1 or 2 scenes in this tutorial and then move on into the next final third tutorial for compositing and put together everything. So that's it about compositing the third scene. I'm going to pause the video and open the scene 4 so we can continue compositing it. Here we are in scene 4. As you can see, we have only one solid here. So let's take our beauty pass and put it in our composition. And after that we are going to take the ambient occlusion pass and put it above our beauty pass. And after that we are going to take our specular pass and put it on top. So let's take the ambient occlusion and change the blending mode to multiply. And let's hit T to review the opacity and set the opacity to 50% for this one. And for the specular we are going to turn on the layer and set this to add. And that's it for this first part. Now we need to take and create some particles. Now we need to create a new solid, and let's call this one particles. And let's go to effect, trap code, and apply particular. Open the emitter section, set this to 1250, and let's set the emitter type to box. Let's set the velocity to 3, and let's set the velocity from motion to 10. And after that let's increase the emitter Y and Z size to 200 and 2500. And let's open the emission extras and set the prerun to 100, so we have particles emitted at the first frame of our animation. And let's set the position to 0, so it is in the center of our composition. And basically we are going to use the same settings as we used before. We are going to open the particles and set the life to 8 seconds. We are going to set the size to something pretty low, like 0.5, and the size random to 50. And we are going to use the same curve for the size over life. And finally we need to go to the physics tab and open the air and set the gravity first of all -1. Open the turbulence field and set this to like 200, and the scale to 2, and the evolution on speed to 10, and basically use the same settings as we did before. And these are the large particles. We need to make a copy of the layer and just change the random seed, increase the number, and to reduce the size to 0.1, so they are almost invisible. Don't know if you can see it on the screen capture. And that are the particles we have, and we need to take everything and let's duplicate our camera and our object, and let's turn this one off, and let's take everything except the camera and helper layer and just pre-compose them. And let's call this one scene 4 composite. And now we need to take the, let's see, the depth layer and put it here below our lens, and select the lens and apply the depth of field effect. Select the depth pass and let's set the radius to 4 for this, and let's go to the depth buffer and invert it. To see what happens. And right now I think that we don't need to invert it. Maybe we can increase this to 15, or let's keep it like 4. I think 4 is good. And let's move at the end of our animation. And maybe we can tweak the focal point here. But basically that's up to you. Honestly, I think that the object, the depth pass doesn't work pretty good for this scene, and that's why I think I've created a gradient which was something like that. 2 layers, white and black, and just surrounding the lens like so. And let's call this one DM for depth map, and put it on the bottom. And if we select this one and invert the buffer, you can see, let's set this to 15, how it blurs the edges and only the lens here is in focus. So that's what I did originally. And for the particles, we can take them and make a copy if we want some more particles here. Now let's create a new solid, and let's call this one OF for optical flares, and let's apply the video copilot optical flares. Go to options, and let's go to the conspiracy presets and apply the FDA preset, and click OK, and apply color correction tint to tint it again. And I want to put this right here on top of everything, and let's set the blending mode to add for the flare to get this nice white on the top. And for the color correction, I'm going to create a new adjustment layer and going to apply color correction curves just to increase the contrast a bit, like that. And after that, apply a bit of sharpen, and finally add some noise as we did on the previous scenes. And what we need to do is to create the title here, which at this point we need to create the base for that. So let's duplicate the layer, and if we make this one white, and let's call this one base, we can just scale this down like so, like 50%, and just apply effect, transition, Venetian blinds transition, and let's say this to 5 and this to 45. And if we click the collapse transformation, it's going to fix the layer and remove the quality loss. So remember to click the collapse transformation switch, and at this point we can set this to like 50 or maybe 25%, because we want just to see part of this. And let's click this point here, let's set a keyframe, set this to 0, and let's move 20 frames forward and set this to 50, and actually hit U and go back to the first frame and set this to 100%. So we want this type of animation, and let's duplicate this, remove the effect, just double click to create mask and go to generate and apply stroke, and let's click on transparent on the paint style for the stroke, and let's set the brush hardness to, let's see, 100% and set the spacing to 0, and we need to increase the opacity to 100% for this one, and let's set the brush size to 1. And what we need to do is to move like 20 frames backwards and animate this. So set this to 0, and let's set a keyframe, move 20 frames forward and set this to 100, and select the keyframes, right click and make them easy ease, go to the curve graph editor, and we want a very slow start and a very slow end of the animation, and the rest we want to be super quick. And what we are going to do is to create another layer, make it comp size, and let's go this one wines, and we are going to create a wine here. So at this point, once the base is formed, we are going to create wine here, which goes here and here to make our title. As you can see, this, we are going to create this type of effect, which is pretty easy. What we need to do is to take and select the second mask and just cut and paste it on the wines layer, and obviously it doesn't work, so we need to make sure to select the wines layer and create the mask there like so, and hit MM to reveal the mask properties, set a keyframe for the mask, and let's move 10 frames forward. And what we need to do is just take this point of the mask and move it here, move 10 frames forward and animate this here, and repeat this until the end of our scene, and move it a bit more. And that's the final frame of our scene, and we are going to trim the layer, turn it on, excuse me, go to generate and apply stroke, and change the paint style on transparent, set the spacing to 0, set the brush hardness to 100 and set the brush size to 1, and we are going to show the layer so we can see better, and we are going to set this to 0, set a keyframe, move 20 frames forward and set this to 100, and again let's select the keyframes and make them easy ease, and open the graph editor to repeat the same steps so we have this type of animation we want. And we are going to type our title here, and maybe start at this point. Here move the title a bit, and we are going to animate this like our previous title. Animate the opacity, set this to 0 and go to the this frame here, set a keyframe for the offset, and let's move 20 frames forward, and let's set this to 100 and just make the keyframes easy ease again, and go to the graph editor, and let's select the offset and repeat the steps even with the text, and select everything and collapse it. Take the color correction and the optical flares and put it on top of everything, and let's maybe reduce the opacity for the lines and the title. Maybe set this to 75% so it's not 100% white color. And that's it for this scene. As you can see, we are ready, and it seems that we are running out of time for this tutorial, so we are going to continue in the next one, where we have only 2 scenes to complete, which are pretty easy to composite, and finally we are going to put everything together. So that's it for this second part for the compositing of our lens commercial. Hope you like it and find it useful. Once again, I'm Stefan for tuts+, and we'll see you next time.